Alright, internet peoples, making this video because I just finished this a couple of days ago. Finished this down underquilt that I'm really proud of. I think it came out better than I expected, and because I know there's people out there like me who love to see these kind of videos. So I'm super stoked on this underquilt. I'm trying to make a full hammock, backpacking hammock setup, a high-end ultralight for around $400. But I've made the hammock. And the whole setup I want, the idea is for it to be kind of fair weather, 3 seasons. So get down to freezing. So basically everything, the quilt's rated down to 30 degrees. Here's the underquilt I came up with. It was originally designed it to be kind of a 3/4 length. I forgot what are the dimensions. I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head. I think it's about 60 inches long. Basically goes from my middle of my neck, so over my shoulders, down to basically my ankles. That's almost a full length pad for me. I'm 6 foot. And it's also really wide. I like my quilts real wide. I think it's 45, maybe 48 inches wide before the seam allowance. I'm not exactly sure. But really covers me up nicely. I'll take you down and put it in a hammock so you guys can see it. It's got about 7 ounces of 950 fill power, water resistant down in it. And I think it's got a good, probably 3 inches of loft, more than I expected. This might take me down below freezing. Not sure. But it weighs, it's very lightweight. It weighs, I think without the stuff sack, so just as is with the suspension, the little S-beaners, everything, the cord locks, as it is here, it weighs 13.4 ounces, which is, I'm so proud of it. For the size and temperature it goes down to, I couldn't find anything online that you could buy, and I don't even know if I've seen a DIY that gets these kind of specs with this kind of weight. So as you can see, it's kind of interesting design. It's a Karo step. It's got a Karo step quilting baffling with really small squares. I think that they're 9 inches by 10 inches, and there's only 4 inches to go between here. So the down was really hard for me to distribute after I stuffed it. It almost defeated the purpose of doing Karo strip, which to me is to make it easier to stuff the down. It took me quite a long time. It's got a lot of effort to get distributed between all the boxes. But the good news about that is I don't think it's going to shift at all. There's not going to be any kind of shifting of down. In fact, there might be less shifting of down in this design than if I had done baffles from top to bottom. So really happy with it. It was really hard to make. I might have over-engineered it a little bit, but I think it's one of the reasons why it came out so good. So the shell, so you can see how it is, the way it's cut. Let me loosen up the ends here. I'm going to take you in and show you the suspension too a little bit, because I think it's really interesting. I'll explain the story. I've never seen suspension done like this before on underquilt. I think it turned out really good. It might be kind of a new option for people out there, something to think about. But, so it's differential cut, and I really put a lot of thought into the design on how exactly I made the differential cut. So you can see how the inside of the quilt here, this is the outside, this is the inside. It's flat, and if I turn this around, you can see how all of this stuff is the lofted part, and it also makes up for the sides, this one piece. Man, this was really tough to design. So basically, each box on the outer material here, so the baffles are about 3/4 of an inch. There is baffling in there, no-seam mesh, or nano-no-seam mesh. They're 3/4 of an inch wide. And then the boxes themselves on here are a 1/2 inch bigger in each direction. So in both directions they're a ½ inch longer, so they're 9.5 and 10.5, whereas on the inside they're 9 by 10. So that first of all took a bit of work sewing it, because obviously the baffles are the same length and you have to center them, and that was a bit of a headache. And then on the outside there's an additional 2 inches of extra material on each side. So I had to do all kinds of crazy pleating where these things meet up, and at the corners especially, some kind of pleating and just some fendangling to get everything to line up, and it really did, and man, it turned out good, huh? I think it did, at least. But man, this was the hardest thing I've ever made, and I've made several quilts, backpacks, jackets, technical hard shell, insulated jackets. This takes the cake for the most difficult DIY project I've had so far. So this inside material here, this is actually, might look black on camera, this is a dark purple. It looks really cool. All the stitching is a blaze orange thread. Man, it looks cool, I think. This is a, how do you say it, taffeta? It's not a ripstop nylon, so it's really soft. But it's, I think it's from Ripstop by the Roll. I forgot what they call it, but it's their ultralight, equivalent of, it's a tendoneer, so it's I don't know what it is. It's something like 0.6 or 0.7 ounces per square yard, or maybe less. It's the lightest, basically the lightest nylon that you can buy in the market. Really nice and soft, feels good. The outside I actually made from a diamond ripstop calendar, 1.1 ounce, I think is what it is, or no, it's actually 1 ounce per square yard. Diamond ripstop, and this is also from Ripstop by the Roll. It's really soft, and I made this because I think it has a more substantial, DWR coating, and of course it's ripstop. It's a little more durable, and the idea is that I won't have to use an underquilt protector. So if this is scraping against some brush or it's raining and some water splashes up, this will be on the outside and it'll be nice. But it really is kind of really soft. It feels great. It's a really nice material. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with both the materials, actually. So let me take the camera off the tripod and bring you in closer and show you the details on the suspension, which I think is a little bit interesting. Let's see here. So the reason I did the suspension this way was because I actually didn't have enough of this thick shock cord. I think it's an 1/8 inch to do a full the full circle around the whole thing. I just didn't quite have enough. So I added in this stuff. It's really interesting stuff. It's super lightweight. You know what, I think I got this a long time ago. I think from Z-Packs. I forgot what it's called. But it's like an ultralight, really thin cord, but it's got some friction. It's got a little bit of friction on it. Just what feels like just the right amount. And kind of weird, you bend it, it kind of stays. It's kind of really strange properties to it, but I really like it. And that's what runs through the channels. The channels, of course, I got the channels at the head and foot end to go from here through here, out the other side, and put grommets on all of them, metal grommets. And I didn't use the grosgrain. I don't know why everybody uses that stuff. I think it adds a lot of weight to make grosgrain channels, and I'm not sure. I just don't understand why it needs to have that reinforcement. I think that the reason people use it is because it's easier than doing these sewn-in channels. Like, these channels are a little bit tough to do, but I think I saved a lot of weight, and I think it just looks a lot better. It's just sort of both sides are hemmed up. On the inside, both materials are hemmed an inch in, so that goes beyond this seam, this inner seam that makes up the channel, which is double stitched, and then. So basically the entire channel has 4 layers of fabric. So I think it's plenty strong, and it just, I think it's a good way to do it. Anyways, so this stuff goes through all the way down this sewn in channel on the side and out the other side. So there. Now, where it turns in the shock cord, it's tied to the shock cord with a little guy there, so it's adjustable. And then that shock cord goes around with an S-beater on it, and then comes out over here. Now it kind of gives me really interesting. So it basically kind of combines the shock cord. You know, it slides. The whole quilt still slides, and it slides really nicely with this cordage that I got here. And yet it still has this elastic suspension, and it's adjustable. And I think if I actually tie a knot in the middle of the shock cord and tie the carabiner to that knot, I could actually adjust both sides independently on the front and the rear. I think I'm going to try that. Now, you know, I was originally just going to go ahead and buy enough shock cord to do the whole thing, but I think I'm going to like this better. I think it actually also saves a lot of weight because this cord is really, really lightweight. So I'm going to turn the camera off and I'll go set it up so you can see what it looks like on the hammock. And be right back. Okay, so I live in kind of a borderline studio apartment. You know, I got my bedroom upstairs, what we just were, as a loft, and down here is one room for everything else. So sorry for all the clutter. I don't really have a yard, so I kind of had to improvise and set up the hammock down here. It's actually not bad. It's great. I can see the TV. I can see outside. You know, it's not a bad setup. I leave it up all the time. So anyways, I'm going to set up this underquilt so you guys can see it. Hopefully it's still adjusted from when I slept down here last night and I got really hot. But I think if I open up the ends, maybe it'll vent it. So, okay, so we're just using the S-beaners here to hook it up to the whoopee slings. And you can see it slides along that. God, I wish I could remember what that line was called from Z-Packs. But it's really good stuff. Slides really nice, but then it will, when I get in, you'll see it stays no problem. Now I'm going to tighten up the ends here. Not too much, but enough. Okay. The same over here. Yeah, something like that. All right. See if I'm getting in this thing right. Okay, so in the hammock, this is a DIY hammock. It's about 11 feet, something like that, 11 and a half feet, I'm not exactly sure. So it is a really wide quilt, which I like. Totally covers up both my shoulders right now. In fact, it's almost borderline in the back of my head. And you can see, here's my feet. And I can see from here, this quilt goes down to basically here. On both, you know, my feet are totally extended to here. Now, I don't even know if I'm going to need a pad for my feet. You know, if this quilt is only designed for freezing, so down to the 30 degrees or so, I might just be able to get away with a pair of socks or two. Inside, all my quilts that I make are sewn up foot boxes, and they're pretty warm. You know, I think that'll be okay. So, in fact, when I lay on a diagonal like this, I still got my shoulders covered. Now it's going halfway up my feet here. This foot, well, my ankles. So maybe just a small pad, real lightweight pad. You know, I've got this little sit pad here that weighs like nothing, like an ounce or two. You know, so this will be plenty big enough. So yeah, that's what I'll use. So really good. Hop back in it over time here. This is actually the first time I've filmed it with me in it, so I'd love to see how it looks with me in it. You know, I have to do some adjustments on the. I think it's nice and good. So, oh yeah, really warm. Oh, I just could not be happier with this quilt, guys. Just showing it off. When I finish up the whole hammock setup, I'll show off the whole thing. I still need to make. So I made this. All I've made it so far is the hammock and this quilt, or this underquilt. You know, I've got this DIY. It's really nice. It weighs 19 ounces and it's got 14 ounces of 13 or 14 ounces of down in it. It's taken me down to almost 20 degrees and I still was hot. But I'm gonna make another quilt, and the goal is to make it, this is a 46 degree bag by Sea to Summit, the Spark one. Love this sleeping bag. The goal is to make a quilt that will get me down to the same temperature or better. Basically I want to get to 30 degrees for the same weight. This thing weighs 12.3 ounces. So that's what I'm going to make next. It's sort of a summer kind of shoulder season quilt that weighs 12 ounces and will get me down to 30 degrees. I think I can do it. So once I finish making all that, I'll make another video and show all that off. But yeah, real happy with this underquilt, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.